Welcome into NBA Now. I'm Chase Sr. with Chat Sports, and the NBA trade deadline coming up on Thursday. And here's what we have coming your way here on Chat Sports. We're going to be live breaking it all down on YouTube. Wednesday, Harrison Graham and myself will be live at 4 o'clock Eastern. And then on Thursday, we're going to be live again as all of the trade news comes in. We're going to bring you all of the latest news, rumors, trades, and information going on all across the NBA. So be sure to subscribe to our main YouTube channel at youtube.com/chatsportstv. Hit that big red button down below and hit the notification button. That way, when we go live, you will be notified. Let's kick off the Los Angeles Lakers report with this from Brian Windhorst when talking about the Lakers approaching the NBA trade deadline on Thursday. He says, the piece that the Lakers have that they may be willing to move is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. The piece that teams want is Talen Horton-Tucker, who's a restricted free agent at the end of the year. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope signed a deal prior to this season, 3 years, $39+ million. He is a clutch client like LeBron James with Rich Paul and co. So LeBron does like him. That was part of the reason why Kentavious Caldwell-Pope came back to the Lakers. And of course, he was a big part of that championship run last year. The thing with KCP, yes, he can defend, but for me, KCP is inconsistent offensively, and he's expensive, as we just looked at that contract right there. And here are his numbers for this year. Again, you don't want to pay great for good, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is a solid piece, but nothing that's going to rock your world, right? 8.4 points per game, 2.5 dimes. His shooting percentage from the field and three-point range is just okay. So I'm not sure the Lakers are going to receive a ton of calls about KCP's services, nor do I think he's going to bring a bunch back. What this could open up for the Lakers is some salary cap space, which is big for this team because they don't have a ton. I mentioned Talen Horton-Tucker. Let's get to him because that is the piece on the Lakers. A young player with upside and potential who other teams are very interested in. And what's important to note about THT, he's going to be a restricted free agent after this season. And according to reports, there are going to be a bunch of teams that are interested in Talen Horton-Tucker's services. And if they offer him a large contract, I know LeBron really likes him. The Lakers don't have the money, potentially, to bring him back on a fat deal, nor is he really worth it because you don't want to overpay for a guy who comes off the bench, is a solid player, has some versatility to his game. So that's something interesting to monitor. Is a team just going to try to offer a bunch for Talen Horton-Tucker? GM LeBron, yeah, we know that he has say and power in this organization. He's a huge fan of Talen Horton-Tucker. He might not want to part ways with one of the only young and budding players on this Lakers roster. And look at what Talen Horton-Tucker has done over the last 8 games. Now with LeBron out, with Anthony Davis out, both of those players are going to be out for the foreseeable future. What LeBron sees in Horton-Tucker, it's all come to fruition because in the last 8 games, he's been a really solid player in that point forward role. He's kind of like a baby version of Draymond Green to a certain extent. He's never going to be that defender or that player, but the elements of Draymond's game, it's kind of rubbed off on Talen Horton-Tucker a little bit. And come this offseason, with him being a restricted free agent, I could totally see a team willing to pay him around $10 million because he has upside, he has potential, and he's been a part of a championship team and another team that's going to make another run at a Larry O'Brien trophy. So KCP could be on the block. Teams are going to call about Talen Horton-Tucker. If you're Rob Pelinka, pick one to trade. If it's KCP, type KCP. If it's Talen Horton-Tucker, type THT. Let's get to the latest injury news on LeBron James. Unfortunate news over the weekend because he was rolled up on by Solomon Hill. It's a high right ankle sprain. According to Shams, LeBron is going to miss potentially several weeks. And now the Lakers are in a predicament because they're without Anthony Davis for at least a couple more weeks. He's going to be reevaluated at the end of this week, but isn't coming back anytime soon. And LeBron, you have to rest him, right? Given his age at 36, since coming into the league at 2000 and 2003, he's rarely been injured, which is part of the legend of LeBron James. But this is 2 injuries in 3 seasons with the Lakers. You just have to get him healthy for the playoff run because without LeBron, without AD, you're not going to do anything when it comes playoff time. And speaking of those 2 players, this is what the Lakers are missing right now. arguably the best 1-2 punch in the NBA. LeBron and AD combining for 25 and 22 points per game. They're both awesome defensively as well. They can create. They can knock down shots from all across the floor. So the Lakers are in a really tough spot right now with two of the top 10 players in the NBA. And I'm going to go ahead and say LeBron, even at 36, coming into the league at 2003, is still the best player in the NBA, with AD being the best number 2 option. So, hey, you don't have LeBron, you don't have AD. Who are you relying on this team? Kyle Kuzma and Talen Horton-Tucker? The Lakers certainly don't have a viable, consistent go-to threat as a number 3 option, and they definitely don't have a big 3 in Los Angeles. So people are talking about the potential of the Lakers possibly acquiring another star. That includes Colin Cowherd, who took to the airwaves yesterday and said, the reality is the Lakers need a third star. It's not stacking the deck. This is why I've been a big proponent of Bradley Beal. I don't know if Bradley Beal would be a great playoff player. I know Harden is not. I don't know if Bradley Beal would be, but he's a great regular season guy. He gives you 80 games a year, and Cowherd continued by saying this. So if you bring Beal in, and if AD, who's brittle, gets hurt, and LeBron is aging, you got Bradley Beal in there to drop 40 a night. That keeps you as a top 3 to 4 team in the West. Then when LeBron and AD come back, you're ready to win a championship. Now, Colin Cowherd brought this up because he's looking at what the Brooklyn Nets are doing right now. And without Kevin Durant, without Kyrie Irving on this upcoming road trip, James Harden has been playing at an MVP level. And without those two studs, Brooklyn has been able to survive and keep their heads above water because of James Harden being the latter portion of that big 3 that the Lakers do not have. Look at the numbers that these guys are putting up. Kevin Durant, 29 points per game. Kyrie Irving, 28 plus. And James Harden is sneaking his way into the MVP conversation because he is carrying this team, playing team-oriented basketball, playing like a superstar. He has surprisingly been a great culture fit. And the Brooklyn Nets have been one of the hottest teams in the entire NBA over the last couple of weeks, and that's without KD. Who knows if the Lakers are going to be able to survive, but can you imagine having Bradley Beal on this team? Without LeBron, without AD, Bradley Beal would be able to bring the Lakers something similar that James Harden has brought the Brooklyn Nets. So what do you think, Laker Nation? Would you trade for Bradley Beal? If you think this is a good idea, type G. If you think it's a bad idea, type B for bad. If you ask me, I think the Lakers are tied down right now, and I don't think this is a realistic trade option. Why is that? The Lakers don't have any salary cap space. They lack the assets to give up for a player of the caliber of Bradley Beal, and they don't have any draft picks in the future to give up because they've exhausted that on AD and some of the resources that they've spent to construct the current roster that they have right now. So, of course, as we sit here on this Tuesday, if you're Laker Nation, you'd love to see Bradley Beal paired up with LeBron and AD. In fact, I think that would be a better top 3 option than what the Brooklyn Nets have right now, but I don't think it's a realistic option. What I do think is that the Lakers, with the trade deadline coming up on Thursday, have to make a move because things in the Western Conference are very tight. Look at the standings right now. I mean, the Jazz have been one of the best stories of the entire NBA season. They don't seem to be going away. I think they're for real at 31-11. Now, the Lakers are sitting somewhat comfortably in third place at 28-15. But as we look at the rest of the Western Conference, everything is so closely tied in this competitive conference that night in, night out can be an absolute dogfight. And we know that LeBron is going to be out, let's say, at least a month, unless he just sleeps all day, every day in a hyperbaric chamber, and he uses his insane recovery skills to come back in a short amount of time. But I don't think it's going to happen. I think they have to rest him. AD, yeah, you don't want to mess around with a calf strain because that could lead to potentially Achilles problems as well. So the Lakers at third place right now, they have to make a deal. They also have to get healthy because as long as this team is healthy, they are going to contend for an NBA championship. So Laker Nation, The NBA trade deadline is coming up on Thursday. If you want to stay up to date with all the latest news, rumors, trades, and potentially signings on the buyout market, subscribe to the Lakers Report here on Chat Sports TV. We're going to keep you up to date with everything going on. So hit that big red button down below and head to youtube.com/LakersTV and subscribe now.